The nurse discovered something frightening while giving an injection. She'd accidentally mistook the morphine meant for pain relief as an anti-inflammatory. What they heard even more tad was that she had administered 100 milligrams of morphine instead of the required 3 milligrams. Such a high dose could be fatal, with only 5 milligrams being sufficient. The old man tried to comfort her, urging her not to panic, because if the antidote was used within 10 minutes, it could be metabolized and expelled from the body. He then took out a notebook, thinking it was a rather intriguing method of murder. But at this point, the girl was becoming increasingly anxious. The antidote that should have been in the medical kit had inexplicably vanished. The old man noticed her worry. After all, wealthy people like him could be landed states on the outskirts. Even if she called for help now, it would be too late by the time the medical staff arrived. It seemed tonight was destined to be a dead end. He knew someone must be trying to use this to frame her, in order to pin the blame on the nurse. The girl still held a glimmer of hope as she picked up the phone. Only for the old man to simply hang up. He insisted that the nurse listen carefully to every word he was about to say, because that was the only way to clear her of suspicion. The old man did not want her family to fall apart because of him. The nurse was suspected by the police. Then her mother's illegal immigration status would surely be exposed. The old man told her to make noise on her way down, and not to forget to greet the little son at the back door. And it was exactly 12 o'clock. Then he drove away from the manor. After leaving the surveillance range, the old man asked her to stop the car at the roadside. They're coming back from his volunteer in the backyard, because the dog at home recognizes her and will bark. But to avoid everyone's gaze, she must climb back to the 3rd floor through the lattice railing outside the wall. But she accidentally broke a section. When she returned, the old man asked her to put on his pajamas and hat. He knew that the youngest son was still smoking at this time. He also successfully made the other person mistake her for his whole father. This way, it creates a witness that would allow her to smoothly escape from being the prime suspect. But the girl has a fatal flaw. She would vomit every time she lies. The old man advised her not to lie. She could only tell part of the truth. Then the girl went back the same way again. But unexpectedly, she ran to her great-grandmother as soon as she got down. Fortunately, the old man, poor bastard, he mistook the girl for his great-granddaughter, and asked her where she was back again. Under the cover of night, the girl finally returned home. But unexpectedly, the next day, when the butler rushed over the door, he found the old man's throat had been slashed. There was also bloody dagger on the floor. Since the old man was a famous mystery writer, his staff quickly made the news. The police initially determined it to be a suicide. The girl still lives in fear every day. That day, she received a phone call. It said that the other had already been buried, but the police still needed to ask everyone some questions, so they hoped the girl will return to the manor to work early. The story gradually reached its climax from this woman. I believe it will absolutely burn your poop after watching. The elder's eldest daughter is a self-made business tycoon. In her father's eyes, she is also the most capable, but the woman's husband is a lazy gigolo. Fortunately, they had an impressive son like Captain America. However, Captain America was busy and didn't come today. According to the other stars for Glitchin, that night was her father's 85th birthday. But before the celebration ended, Captain America left early. The other also has a younger son. He is responsible for managing a publishing house founded by his father. Every year, new book sales reach a staggering 80 million copies. It seems that his father values this younger son the most, but he has a disappointing son. He always makes inappropriate comments online. The man said the three of them were celebrating their father's birthday. During this time, nothing unpleasant occurred. The elder also had another son who passed away prematurely. He left behind a wife and a daughter. The living expenses and tuition are funded by the father, so the two of them do not have any burden. But when the police wanted to understand more details about that night, the younger son was the first to express doubt. Didn't my father commit suicide? Why does it seem like we have all become murderers? Faced with everyone's questions, they had to move the man behind them now. Seven, now retired, changed his name to Nick and became a private detective. He claimed to be tasked by a mysterious person. That's why he had no choice but to come and listen in. But he didn't even know who the client was. All he knew was that they were given a lot of money. After Nick's observation, he noticed that the family seemed harmonious, but each had their own hidden agendas. Sure enough, after relentless questioning, everyone started airing their grievances. The situation was far from simple. The Muchin-san said the younger son had a fight with the father that night, but the man immediately denied it. The real situation was as follows. The younger son, lacking skills in his business, started covering his father's copyright. He hoped to turn the novel into a movie, which would bring extra income to the company. But the old father thought he lacked creativity. Since taking over, he had to spend relying on his father. The old man felt it was his fault for harming him, so he decided to fire him from his general manager position. He also asked him to come to the office tomorrow to discuss details. That's right, the younger son was fired by his dad, but he claimed they were only discussing new book publication that night. There was no conflict at all. At the same time, he accused the Muchin-san, saying his son was the real troublemaker in the family. Captain America did nothing all day and didn't go to work. A quarrel broke out on his father's birthday evening. Then he stormed out of the study. Everyone saw what happened at that time. The freeloading man didn't know how to respond. He could only say that his son wasn't there today. He was also unclear about the specifics. Nick suddenly changed the subject. He heard that Captain America had argued with the old man that day. Someone heard him shouting in his father's room. The man could only come up with a vague excuse. He believed he was discussing issues with his father. It was just a heated discussion that got out of control. But the truth at the time was different. The old man had discovered evidence of his infidelity. He also wrote a letter to inform his daughter. He let the freeloading man choose either confess everything to his wife or send a letter to his daughter. The son-in-law thought it was a family matter. He had a huge argument with the old man, and all of this was heard by workers inside and outside. So it was the eldest daughter-in-law's turn. Nick also heard that she arrived very early that afternoon. The woman didn't deny it after hearing this. She said she was there to discuss tuition for her daughter's college. But soon the problem was resolved. However, the reality was, this month she realized she hadn't given her daughter living expenses, so she came to ask her father what was going on. But her dad discovered that the company sent money regularly to the school. She also asked her secretary to transfer money to her personal account each month. This meant she received 2 payments monthly in her daughter's name. The old man believed she was stealing from him. He was thinking about his granddaughter's future. He decided not to pay for living expenses from then on. He hopes his daughter-in-law can be independent. By observing everyone's subtle expressions, Nick also noticed some clues. Clearly, this family has no good ones. He decided to change his strategy. He started by getting close to the young nurse. The advantage of the Blizzy kept man quietly snuck into his father's study. He wanted to steal back the letter about his affair, but when he opened it, he found it was just a blank piece of paper. The tap man finally let go of his worries. He never expected the old man would try to trick him before dying. Meanwhile, the police began to have doubts. The coroner had clearly ruled it a suicide, so why waste time on it? But Meeks were back with a shocking question. Is there anyone who commits suicide by slitting their throat? Soon they found the female nurse again, because she was a crucial person. Due to the old man's health condition, his days had been never far from his side. Their relationship was sometimes closer than with his own children. Most importantly, Nick also knew her deadly flaw was that she would vomit if she lied. This meant he could hear the truth from her. But the old man's death was related to the girl, so how could she avoid being exposed? Nick first asked about the eldest son-in-law. He wanted to know if he really had an affair. And the nurse actually knew the truth, because the old man had told her about this long ago, but the eldest daughter has always been good to her. The girl didn't want to make her sad because of this, so she lied again. But the next moment, she began to vomit uncontrollably. It seems the girl was lying, and this confirmed her suspicion. He then started to interrogate the nurse. He asked if the eldest daughter had been standing tuition fees. The girl also knew about this. At that time, the old man already knew about it. He said their family was like vampires. This time, the girl dared not answer, otherwise she would vomit all of breakfast. She excused herself to go to the restroom. This was how she temporarily avoided a few people. According to the police investigation, the party ended at 11 that night. The nurse accompanied the old man upstairs for an injection, but soon after, the eldest daughter-in-law heard a crash.